Welcome back to the Metro on WDET. I'm Robin Vincent. For many faithful folks in Detroit, Pastor Solomon Kinloch is a familiar name and face. As the senior pastor at Triumph Church, he's known for his powerful sermons and community outreach. The church has over 35,000 members. That's according to its website. But now, he's on the political stage running for mayor of Detroit. And this is an arena where he's relatively unknown. Kinloch is the only candidate in the mayoral race who has not held an elected position. But he views that as his strength. He believes Detroit residents are tired of career politicians leading the city with little progress to show for it. His campaign's message is rooted in service, leadership, and intentional change, which he hopes will set him apart from other candidates. To better understand how Kinloch's experience leading Triumph Church would inform how he would govern as mayor, producer Kerry Jr. II spoke with him at the Mackinac Policy Conference.
Solomon Kinloch, thanks for joining us. As we know, you've worked at Triumph Church for almost 30 years, a little over 25 years. Is it 26? Is that the correct number?
27.
27
this
years
year.
now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you come from the church, and we know there's a lot of history with the black church and black politics.
Yes.
But how do you view the role of mayor? What do you see as the most important job in that role?
One of the things I think any leader must understand is what makes you do what you do. And as mayor, I believe that the mayor is fueled and funneled by the same thing that drives me, your love and your concern for people. And people just want to be seen. People just want to be heard. And people who just want to receive and have access to the resources that this life and this government promises to give. People want opportunities. Regardless of what level of life you're on, you want opportunities. One of the things that we have to make sure is that we have an intentional strategy on poverty. At the end of the day, we have to make sure that we are lifting people out of impoverished conditions. And we can do that multiple ways. We can do that, one, through education, making sure that we have top-notch education for our children, but also making sure we have continued education and workforce development and training and apprenticeship programs for our adults to give them a path to high-paying jobs where they can not only survive but also thrive. We also believe home ownership, affordable housing, is the path to making that happen. Down payment assistance is a great obstacle in order to achieve that. And we want to make sure that we are giving them opportunities in order to get there.
Do you have plans on how to execute that, to give people access to home ownership, to increase educational opportunity?
Well, one of the things that we would do, a part of our platform, is to make sure that we have an intentional staff person that's a part of our administration, the chief educational officer, that will work with the school system in order to make sure that however the municipality can supplement those support services to make sure that our child has a holistic education. One of the things that we have to understand is that there are a number of inequities in multiple arenas surrounding our children that prevent them from getting educated. And what the city can do is partnering to make sure that we're providing or we're partnering in private-public sectors to make sure that we're reaching those demographics and we're not leaving or dismissing any children from being included in this process.
You're talking about this multi-pronged approach to solving that problem, but I'm wondering, when you say we have to collaborate, the government has to collaborate, and you want to assign individuals to that task, what types of programming or outreach will they be doing to make sure that we're getting the results we want from the students?
Well, one is housing. We have to make sure that we have affordable housing, and we're doing something for the homeless population. We still have a tremendous child homeless population in the city of Detroit. So
Yeah.
we have to do something with that. We have to make sure that we're providing housing for that.
Yeah.
We also have to make sure that we're putting people on a path to home ownership.
Right.
And so partnering with parents for not just housing, but partnering for parents by providing jobs in a community in which they live so they can afford quality homes in order to take care of their families. That's another part of that. Making sure that they're safe when they're coming to and from school, and just making sure that they're safe, period, is something else we can do that. The food desert in our community,
Yeah.
setting up mentoring programs between for-profit and others in our community to make sure they're being mentored to go into entrepreneur opportunities for themselves. And so when we start talking about someone, right now, everyone's working in silos, everyone's working in their lane, but we need to make sure that we're addressing all of the inequities that are bumping up against children. It shouldn't just be the school district that's worried about truancy.
Right.
You know,
Everyone has to work together.
Everyone has to work together for that.
Are there programs or that you've seen either in Michigan or in other states that embody the type of program you're thinking of to help fix some of these problems in the city of Detroit?
When you start talking about the city of Detroit, I believe that we already have good programs in place.
Okay.
I just believe.
Like which ones?
Well, when you start talking about after-school programming,
Okay.
when you start talking, there are programs and initiatives for truancy. You have multiple things, but I always look at it like this. There are good cookbooks, but cookbooks don't cook.
Okay.
People do.
Okay.
And so we got to have the right people in those positions and places and spaces to make sure that when we assign responsibility, that we hold those accountable for those responsibility so that they're meeting the metrics and the outcomes that we want to see.
So if I understand you correctly, you're saying the programs we have in place are fine. It's the way that they're executing what the ask is. And what you're trying to do as mayor is find the people who are going to execute on the ask.
Yeah, and as well as evaluate which programs are not working. And we can continue to look at good practices across the country and making sure we incorporate those as well. But it's not just a me thing, it's a we thing. We have to collaborate and pull the district together. We have to pull parents together. We have to pull community together, philanthropic and corporate together so that we can create that table so that everyone understands, which I believe they do, that we have a responsibility to these children, and it's not just on the shoulders of one, but it's on the shoulders of all.
You earlier talked about how you are motivated to be mayor in the same way you're motivated to be a pastor and that you want to help people. What do you consider to be your qualifications from your background as a pastor that will transfer over to the role of mayor?
Well, one of the things that we have to remember that when you talk about the church I pastor, is not just the traditional church.
Absolutely.
It's a church that went from less than 100 people to more than tens of thousands of families. It's a campus that has multiple campuses, 8 throughout the metropolitan area, has employees that we have recruited, that we have retained, that we have trained. We not only are given a budget, you know, I'm not at a city council table where I'm given a budget. I have to create one, and then I have to go out and raise the resources in order to meet those budgets. And so one of the things that we bring is executive leadership. We bring the ability to build something. And I pastor many people that sometimes is bigger than a small city. And so we interact with them on a daily basis. We provided laptops during the COVID crisis, food. And so I've been in the people's business. And hold me up against anyone running. I don't believe that you have anybody that can say that they touch that many people on a regular basis.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I would imagine that galvanizing or building a community based off of fellowship and faith is a little bit different than, I'm not sure building what that equivalent will be to building a community in a city, but because there's a lot more, as we just talked about, systems that have to be, or structures that have to be in place so that people have the incentive to either live here, build their families here, right? Help me understand the through line between those two.
And I'm glad you asked that, because one, you have to remember, just like mayor and pastoring, You don't do either one of those alone. It's all a part of the team. So no matter how competent and how much experience the mayor has, just like a pastor, you still have a deputy mayor. You still have a chief financial officer. You still have chief operating officer that runs the day-to-day operations of the city. You still have general counsel. You still have department heads. The mayor himself is the responsible party to those supervisors, but he himself does not run those departments. He has a cabinet of people that get those things done. And I bring that kind of experience, knowing how to pull together people that know how to get things done. The mayor casts vision. He communicates that vision, and then he convenes the table in order to carry that vision out. Mike Duggan has done a masterful job with his team, but he didn't do it by himself, and we need to remember that. He had a team of people in order to go in order to help him do that. That's how we will ensure continuity in the government, making sure that we will still have a team that will continue to help us get those things done.
Let's expand that out a little bit. When I think about a church, I think of this team you're talking about with the similar interest in that we want to build this individual church. I get that there are multiple campuses under Triumph Church, but one church entity. With the mayor of Detroit being the largest city in Michigan, a lot of interests lie in the city of Detroit. On top of that, you're also working with interests of other cities in the county at large. How does that experience transition to that type of work, negotiating other bodies?
Because I'm already a regional pastor.
Okay.
I've been a part of a church. What other person on my platform, whether you talk about Jennifer, as far back as Jennifer Granholm to Gretchen Whitmer, they came to Triumph Church. Whether you talk about Senator Peters or Stabenow, they came to Triumph Church.
But isn't holding or hosting church services in different counties a little different than making sure that the budget in your county or that the interest and economic interests in your city are maintained, even though you know that might attract folks from a different county? Like, there are different economic, financial, and public service interests that are, I think, a little bit more layered than...
Well, one of the things you have to ask is
I could be oversimplifying.
Yeah, well, one of the things you have to ask is this. Who else am I running with that created a budget? Because I have for more than 27 years and raised that budget. At city council table, that's one of the things we have to do. They've been given a budget by somebody else that created it. They didn't write that budget themselves. And so... But
you could also, people could also say there are people who've been on city council who have the government experience, and that because you're coming from, outside of politics.
But how do we know that?
Well, I'm just saying, these are different.
We're making those assumptions. And we have to be cautious and careful about making those assumptions about what we think people know. Only thing we can do is say this. How has your experience changed the experience of the people you've been called to serve? And that's the real question. It's not about me. It's not about them. It's simply about how has our experience changed the experiences of the people. And when you say, the reason I'm at the table is because people are looking for something different. I got into the race because people were not satisfied with the status quo. I got into the race because no matter what I think or you think or anybody else think, people were not satisfied that the people that they had elected to serve them were getting things done for them. Polls were taken. I read one poll that came across that said 58% of the people polled in that poll didn't believe that institutional politicians work for them. So if they don't believe that it works for them, at what point do those that sit on the sideline say, we got to stop waiting on other people to do it? We need to get off the bench and do it for ourselves. Politics was never meant for the aristocrats and the bureaucrats to govern us only. Where do we ever get the idea that those that are anointed and appointed are entitled to run for elected office alone? It is the responsibility of every citizen to get out of bleachers, to get down on the field, and to make sure that we push the agenda that's best for all people and not just for some people.
I do just want to clarify, there are two former council members, Santil Jenkins and Mary Sheffield. They both ran for those positions as well. Just wanted to clarify that.
Yes.
That's what I was referring to when I said that. I do want to ask one last question about the city of Detroit's future, right? Duggan's tenure, I think people will say, is marked by a tremendous evolution in the city of Detroit. But there's always still criticism of the fact that to Detroit, the fact that the development and the investments are mainly downtown and there's not enough in the neighborhoods. There have been, of course, efforts in certain parts of the city. I'm curious to know what your plan is, or how do you plan to tackle that kind of tension, I guess, that's lying between the neighborhoods and the downtown going forward if you were elected mayor?
Home ownership, workforce development. My plan is 5 pillars. Number one, it's thriving families. We have to have a city where families here want to stay here, and families that are potentially looking to come here want to be a part of here. And so in order to do that, you got to bridge the income gap, and you bridge that through education, and you bridge that through jobs. You have to make sure that we're doing something with the vitality among fetus and prenatal care, and making sure that they have resources, that the communities are safe. So we have to have a place where families thrive. We have to have vitalities in the neighborhood. We have to make sure that the same streets that we see on Livernois and Woodward, that they're part of our community, of every community, where businesses opportunities can be erected.
I would say, isn't it a little different? Because at least this is I'm assuming this one, so I'll put that one out there in the air. But when I think of people who are criticized, they're thinking about the visible economic development, right? The buildings that are going up, the businesses that are opening, all the things that are happening in the downtown area. And I imagine to do that in the neighborhoods, it requires some type of, I will say, we've had conversations with the Citizens Research Council, and they say that these tax abatements that we're getting for all these new developments are what Detroit leans on because businesses aren't interested in coming here. And so, yes, I believe it sounds like, home ownership and education sound great, but it sounds like for the way people are judging what's happening downtown, that's a lot of tax abatements, right? That's a lot of money that we're offering folks to incentivize them to come and build in the city of Detroit. I guess my question to you then is that something you want to, you envision as part of that plan?
We still would have to continue to use abatements and incentives in order to attract business. I do not believe that we're at a place yet where we can abandon that. We still have to, but what we can do is ensure that anybody we choose to work with and that we are working with understand that they have a responsibility, if they're in partnership with us, to invest in the future and continual health of the residents in the city of Detroit. And so many times residents get conflicted and have a problem when they don't see that happening. And we have to do a better job of being transparent about that and communicating that.
All right. Reverend Solomon Kinloch, I thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today.
I appreciate you, man. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
That was producer Kerry Jr. II speaking with Reverend Solomon Kinloch. He's the senior pastor at Triumph Church, and he's running for mayor of Detroit. Kinloch is polling second behind City Council President Mary Sheffield in Detroit's mayoral race. That's according to a poll released Tuesday morning, commissioned by WDIV and the Detroit News. Coming up on the Metro, fewer folks are diving into books. What's behind this drop, and could audiobooks be our new literary lifeline? We'll be right back on the Metro to turn the page and find out. Stay with us.